We're going to be talking about some massive topics in today's video. Guys, this might be a long one. Don't forget, we're giving away this championship belt at 100,000 subscribers. So go ahead and click subscribe today. All right, guys, obviously a lot of talk about AEW's TV deal. We're going to talk about that in just a little bit. First, I want to talk a little bit about Ring of Honor. Some very interesting stuff coming from Nick Hausman on his Rumor and Innuendo podcast, He says that there are a lot of people frustrated, at least in Ring of Honor, frustrated with how things are going right now. And obviously, we've heard of other frustrations backstage. A lot of people seem to criticize Ring of Honor. Now, look, I am not going to sit here and lie to you guys and act like I am a big fan of Ring of Honor. I enjoyed the first few episodes, and then it kind of fell off to me. However, what I will say is this, because I feel like this is not being talked about enough, and I do want to talk more about this because it is very significant. The thing about Ring of Honor, when it was owned by Sinclair, the company who owned Ring of Honor didn't really give a shit about Ring of Honor. I think it was evident. And obviously, the pandemic kind of screwed things around. It kind of hurt a little bit. At the very least, Tony Khan is paying people to show up, get utilized, and have a place of work. And I think that is very commendable. Now, I have paid attention to the Athena storyline, which I have been on record saying about a couple weeks ago, that it is arguably one of the best Tony Khan stories that he has put on a television product. I believe that Athena, Billy Starks are going to have a very incredible match at Final Battle, which is the main event, which I think is the right decision. I was very happy with what I've been seeing from Ethan Page as of late. And I just kind of want to remind you guys that ROH, if it was owned by another company that isn't AEW, that other company probably would have bought it for its tape library, and that's it. Now, with Ring of Honor, I do think it could be beneficial to AEW if they change their approach. And this is where I'm actually saying they should copy WWE. They should have a call-up system. You work ROH, you get called up to Rampage or Collision or Dynamite. Now, the thing is, the reason why I think that would be a better strategy for AEW is because I feel like Ethan Page is somebody who should be on main AEW programming. Athena should be on main AEW programming. Billy Starks should be on main AEW programming. They have a lot of people. The people who don't get utilized, the people who need extra development should be going to ROH, getting that work in, and that way Tony Khan could have a call-up system. You could treat it like developmental. You could treat it like NXT from 2018 to 2022, or 2021, excuse me. But ultimately, I do think there needs to be some sort of change with Ring of Honor because there is a lot of talent in AEW. Talent are obviously going to be frustrated. And by the way, I understand because not everybody likes their job. But people want to be utilized. Ring of Honor is utilizing certain AEW talent. I think you need to change the vision for ROH. And like I said, like they have a really, really good storyline going on. That was so good. It should have been on TNT or TBS. So with Ring of Honor, the way to fix that is actually have a plan and a vision for that product. And I think the way to do it is to give your underutilized talent a place to work. The thing is with ROH, there's a lot of like parts of it where it feels like AEW dark. You need to get away from that. Treat it like NXT, and I really do believe it will help AEW and it will help the talent of ROH. And that right there is a little bit too much time I've spent talking on this. But just remember that ROH, if it wasn't owned by Tony Khan, there would be a lot of people right now without a job. And that right there is a very, very good thing that Tony Khan did because he didn't have to do that. He kept it going. And yeah, ROH was always a small company. So there's going to be people frustrated, but you can get through it, and that's what matters. Guys, there is some interesting stuff coming out about CM Punk and specifically NXT. We've known that CM Punk has been floating around backstage at NXT. Ibu of Wrestle Purist has come out with something very interesting. He says that the Punk's long-term goal is to succeed the 58-year-old Shawn Michaels in heading up NXT. WWE officials tell Fightful that something like that would be a long way off, and there are no plans as of now for Michaels to wrap up his run in NXT anytime soon. Ibu also noted that Punk would be observing TV production, something that he was known to do in OVW and would often bend Paul Heyman's ear about. Also, Nick Hausman chimed in and suggested that CM Punk will not be a regular face around the WWE Performance Center. However, let me just read this to you guys. He says that they've had CM Punk backstage a couple of times. They had him on Tuesday. I saw the report that CM Punk wants to become the new Shawn Michaels and take over. I sent that text to someone in Punk's camp and got a laughing emoji back. I spoke to people there and they don't believe that it will be a regular thing. He was there working out and maybe getting some medical things done. Obviously, anybody replacing Shawn Michaels, it's probably not going to be happening soon. I think that is very fair. I think that's a very fair assessment. But one thing I do want to say, don't necessarily be shocked if you see Punk get involved more behind the scenes in WWE, right? CM Punk obviously had influence backstage in AEW. For crying out loud, he had AEW Collision built around him. He was the one making decisions there. I don't know if it's necessarily a thing I would give to Punk right away. I think you definitely have to assess how Punk is in WWE backstage first before you reward him with anything like that. But what I will say is this. When AEW Collision came out, I personally very much enjoyed it. And I think if WWE can create some synergies for where Punk can work behind the scenes a little bit and learn, right? You got to learn the job. But learn the job. And maybe when the in-ring career is done, you can have Punk involved in some sort of fashion, right? Again, I would not reward CM Punk just yet. I would not even be making this, I wouldn't even be talking about this topic if I didn't believe in some way CM Punk could be involved in the future of developing talent. But I don't think that should be the focus right now. For now, it's about CM Punk being on TV, creating compelling storylines, and hopefully clearing up his reputation and being able to go to a workplace where there isn't any issues. And right now, it's like very cool to see a whole bunch of NXT talent taking pictures with Punk, being excited about Punk being there. That's awesome. You know what I mean? These are young up-and-comers who obviously love CM Punk. And to see them all gelling together and talking together, I think that's a fantastic thing. But it is very important that CM Punk is also not getting involved in those types of things, booking, developmental stuff, because at the end of the day, right now, the big focus is Punk has an in-ring career to focus on. Later on down the line, is it possible? I absolutely think it is, but for now, we will see how it goes. All right, guys, and that brings us to our final topic of today's video. This is not something new. We've talked about this a year ago. We've talked about this a month ago. Today, there's a big update with a little shocking twist. Nick Hausman coming out and says this is all rumor and innuendo, and I'll get to everything, but it would seem like there will be some suitor of some kind for AEW. One network that was brought up to me, which is like, I can see this, I don't know if there's anything to it, is FX, who seem to want to market toward that younger, rebellious audience that AEW brings in. Fox is now getting out of the WWE business, so it may be a bit of ball and cup there. There is this belief that AEW is truly on the verge of losing their TV deal with Warner Bros. Discovery. Now, keep in mind, Disney owns FX. FX typically has more mature content. We're learning about WWE potentially going to Warner Bros. Discovery. This is fantastic news for AEW if a company like Disney were to say, hey, AEW, we're going to put you on FX. I don't think people realize that. The idea that, and I've said this a long time ago, Warner Bros. Discovery and AEW is a match made in heaven. But at the end of the day, it is a business, and there's different leadership in Warner Bros. Discovery than it was when AEW first did their TV deal. It's a different level of leadership. And I actually think this is one of those moves that benefits WWE greatly And I think this is one of those moves that benefits AEW greatly, because if AEW loses Warner Bros. Discovery and cannot get a better TV deal, or at least one that is like a lateral throw, then it could be very scary for this company. And I don't think that's going to be the case. I know people will sit there and try to prey on a company's downfall, but Tony Khan has money. Now, will FX give them as much money as Warner Bros. Discovery would have initially done? That will be very interesting to find out. But even if not, if AEW can get a significant amount of money for the TV deal, that means they're profitable and valuable. And as long as it's a big company that brings them in, I don't think there's going to be an issue. I've been very adamant. I didn't like the Fox WWE deal. Disney owns FX. You bring AEW in, it just seems like a good match. Now, how much security is there? We'll have to find out. But it's very interesting. They might be losing a TV deal, but they could be walking away with the company who initially wanted WWE Raw. Don't forget that. Don't forget that FX initially wanted Raw, and that's always a possibility. But now the tables are turning, and it looks like WWE can go to Warner, and AEW could go to FX. I think that's awesome. I mean, I think that's a very good win for pro wrestling. I don't care what company you love more. It's just a good thing. Like, even if you don't watch AEW, just keep in mind, the more money that AEW makes, the better it is for talent in general. And obviously, the more talent that stick around in the industry, your favorite talent who stick around in this industry will give you something good to watch. Don't forget, we're giving away this championship belt at 100,000 subscribers. I'll see you next time.